From Collaborate Studios in Lynbrook, this is SportsBash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. SportsBash is also presented by Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service, keeping Long Island warm for over 18 years, serving their customers in Nassau and Suffolk with pride, honesty, and integrity. For more information, visit www.liboilers.com. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome into Sports Bash for this Tuesday, and we are here at Collaborate Studios again. So thanks to Chris Gaddam and everybody here for having us back. And again, best wishes go out to Tony Walker at Governors. I texted with him a little bit today. Seems like he's feeling a little bit better, but we're not quite sure when he'll be back at Governors. So for the time being, we are very, very happy to be here at our home away from home here at Collaborate Studios in Lynbrook. Coming up on the show, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of the show. He's been on a couple of times before. One of the great guys to talk to about the Jets from Jets X Factor, ROBBY SABO. And obviously it's a big week with the draft coming up on Thursday, and the Jets had their pre-draft press conference today with GM Darren Muji. So we'll talk to ROBBY about that coming up on the show. We'll also have the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. What's hot at TicketBash.com? The Coach's Collectibles item of the week, and you want to be sure to stay tuned at the end of the show. We're going to have some news about the show. That's coming up in our final segment. In the meantime, we proceed with the Sports Bash Flash. It is presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation, granting wishes for more than 43 years, wearing the Marty Lyons Foundation sweatshirt today. And don't forget, coming up on Thursday, it's the 6th annual Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party this Thursday, April 23rd at Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore. For more information, you can visit martylyonsfoundation.org. It's a great event. I'm looking forward to being the MC and the host for the sixth consecutive year. It's a wonderful night. About 300 people are there. It's a great venue. Get to see all the draft picks in the first round. Remember, the Jets have 2-16. Now the Giants have 5-10 after the Dexter Lawrence trade. So it should be a lot of fun. Marty obviously there. Some other former Jets and NFL players. Food, drinks, raffle. Some great raffle prizes that are going to be available there. So a lot of fun. Hope to see you at Great South Bay Brewery on Thursday for the 6th annual Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party. Let's get into it. What a disaster last night at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks led the Hawks by 14 points in the third quarter, but they fell apart in the fourth, losing to the Hawks 107-106. The series tied at 1. Game 3 is Thursday night in Atlanta. I'll have more on that in just a little bit. The Yankees and Mets off yesterday. The Yankees coming off of sweeping the Royals over the weekend. They'll open up a series with the Red Sox tonight in Boston. And Cam Schlittler is going to start for the Yankees on Thursday. Did you see the news that him and his family, remember, he is from the Boston area. Him and his family are getting death threats. He's pitching for the first time at Fenway Park on Thursday. And he says he's not fazed by it, but that's kind of sick that he's getting death threats from people in Boston. And if you remember when he pitched against the Red Sox in the playoffs last year, look, like he's got a cocky streak to him, but he backs it up because he's a really good pitcher. But you could tell where like some of his antics and some of the things he put out on social media last year rubbed Red Sox fans the wrong way. But right back at it, getting death threats in advance of his start on Thursday. As for the Mets, they have lost 11 in a row, and they had an off day yesterday, and they're going to open up a series with the Twins tonight at Citi Field. I'm actually shocked that Carlos Mendoza is still the Mets manager. I thought for sure after they lost that game on Sunday, that, especially with the off day yesterday, I thought for sure they were going to make a managerial change, but he is still in the dugout, and he'll be in the dugout for the series opener tonight against the Twins. The Long Island Ducks open up their season tonight against Hagerstown at Fairfield Properties Ballpark. Trevor Bauer makes his Ducks debut. He is the opening night starting pitcher. First pitch at 6:35. And, if you're wondering why I'm a little gruff today, and it's not that I couldn't find my razor. I purposely didn't. My family and I are going to the game. So anything that can keep me a little extra warmer is good. So there'll be heavy layers tonight to see Trevor Bauer pitch. I anticipate there's going to be a really good crowd. But yeah, like when I know I'm going to be out in the cold for an extended period of time, you want to try and take as many precautions to feel warm in the cold. And it's just the thing about baseball. I'm not programmed to be in the cold for baseball. Football, sign me up. You want to put me at MetLife Stadium, you want to put me at an NFL game, a college game, my kids' games, and it's cold and it's football, I can take it because you're programmed for it. Football's a cold weather sport. I can't get programmed for cold weather baseball in April and May. There's something about it that just I can't wrap my arms around it. But it's a special thing tonight because it's the Ducks opening night, and they've got Trevor Bauer. All eyes are going to be on him. And obviously, if you're at Yankee opening day or Met opening day, you can deal with the cold. But for the most part, man, it's just hard to program your body to sit out in the cold at a baseball game. But we'll get through it tonight. First pitch at 6:35. We'll see how long Trevor Bauer is on the hill for the Ducks tonight, and should be a lot of fanfare out in Central Islip. Also tonight, and I forgot to initially put this down, but I just remembered it right before the show, the Islanders AHL team, the Bridgeport Islanders, formerly the Sound Tigers, open up their AHL playoff series tonight, against Hershey in Bridgeport at Total Mortgage Arena. I believe that game starts at 7 o'clock tonight. And obviously, you all know the story by now that after this season, the Bridgeport Islanders are moving to Hamilton. We don't know what the name of the team is, but they're leaving Bridgeport after 25 seasons. But wouldn't it be apropos that they announce that they're leaving and then they win the championship? I mean, that's something right out of Slapshot. Remember in Slapshot, the team is moving and they wind up winning the championship and they leave town with the championship. So like that would be pretty funny. I mean, it's sad for the people in Bridgeport that were loyal to the team, but how crazy would that be if the Bridgeport Islanders go on and win the AHL's Calder Cup? That would be insane. And by the way, they have a stacked team going into the playoffs because Victor Eklund is down there now. They've got Cole Eiserman, who's on a tear. Danil Prokhorov just came from Russia, so he's there. I mean, even if only one or two of them join the Islanders next year, that team in Hamilton, that AHL, whatever they do here in the playoffs and going into next year, that is a stacked team. And if the team we see in the playoff series for the Bridgeport Islanders is any similar to what they're going to see next year in Hamilton, that's going to be a stacked team and a lot of fun to watch. I talked about this in the flash, and it's just, I'll tell you right now, if this was the Islanders or the Jets or the Yankees, a loss like last night, I'd really pull out whatever hair I have left, and I don't have a lot of hair left in the tank. But that Knick game last night was just so troubling for so many reasons. And you're sitting there, and I thought this in game one also, because in game one on Saturday, the Knicks had a lead, Atlanta came back, the Knicks had a lead, and they couldn't put Atlanta away until the fourth quarter. And you just had that same feeling last night. The Knicks would build a lead, Atlanta came back. Same pattern, back and forth. Until finally, I thought the Knicks had complete control of the game in the third quarter, up by 14. They're up by 12 going into the fourth quarter. And then they just couldn't hit a shot, turned the ball over. And the Pacers come out. The Pacers, we used that Knicks losing to the Pacers in the playoffs. And the Hawks come back and they win 107-106. And it was just a crazy ending there because, Brunson hits the three, two missed free throws, and then there was that confusion where, NBC thought the Knicks had a timeout left. And how many fans really, when you're sitting at home watching a game, do you really comprehend how many timeouts the team has? You're basing it on what the TV announcers and what the graphics are going to tell you on the screen. And at the end of the game, we heard as they were getting ready for the free throws that the Knicks could have a timeout and advance the ball to half court with like 5 seconds to go in the game. And they missed both free throws, and then the Knicks run it down the court, and I'm screaming at the TV. I think could really hear me at Madison Square Garden. My wife always says that to me. Why are you screaming at the TV? They can't hear you. But I'm like, why are they not calling a timeout? They're down by a point. Call a timeout. You have plenty of time to set up a shot. But they rushed down the court. And we found out after the fact that the graphics on NBC was wrong and that the Knicks did not have a timeout. That's why they rushed the ball up the court. But they did not have a timeout. And NBC blamed it on a data problem, and then the announcers thought they had a timeout too. And turns out, and he said, oh, the Knicks are taking it right down the court. And Bridges misses the shot at the buzzer. Irregardless of that, it's a horrendous loss for the Knicks. I mean, you cannot, on your home court, blow a 14-point third quarter lead and 12 points go into the fourth quarter. And you saw the graphic, I think, going into the fourth quarter, that the Knicks had only lost 2 games all year when they had the lead going into the fourth quarter. And that makes last night mind-boggling. And I know that Mike Brown is going to get a lot of the criticism because he called that timeout with 2.5 minutes to go. And if we were watching the game at home, people in the Garden knew what the timeout situation was, but at home, we all thought they had one timeout. But he calls that timeout with 2.5 minutes to go, and now they have no timeouts left. And I know he's getting ripped a new one for that, and I get it. It's definitely a coaching blunder on his part. But the Knicks had all the opportunities in the world to put that game away and keep the Hawks away. And they couldn't do it. I mean, Jalen Brunson, as great as he is, captain, clutch player, all that stuff, he missed a few, what you would term clutch shots in that fourth quarter. And there were others. I mean, when they're up 10, Atlanta gets it down to 6, and the Knicks go back up by double digits. They had chances to put this away, and they didn't do it. And there was already going into the playoffs this question, is this Knicks team as good as last year that got to the Eastern Conference Final and lost to the Pacers? Is it even as good as the team that lost to the Pacers in the second round the year before? And Knicks fans wanted to feel good about this team going in, that, all right, they'll beat the Hawks and they'll go up against, like the Celtics or whoever in the second round. And this is a team that when they're firing on all cylinders, like you saw in the fourth quarter of game 1, this is a team that can do some damage. So it's a horrendous loss. And how do the Knicks recover from this? Well, got to go to get game 3. I think right now the Knicks, to make a real statement, have to go to Atlanta and take both games. To really erase, and you're never going to erase the pain of last night, but if the Knicks really want to come out and make a statement, they're a better team than Atlanta. Let's be honest. I mean, I picked Knicks in 6 at the beginning of the series, and I'll stick by it. But this is really a team that if the Knicks are firing on all cylinders, this is a team that the Knicks should win in 4 or 5 games. When they're on top of their game, the Hawks should not take more than 1 game from the Knicks. They've already got that after the Knicks blew a 14-point lead last night. But even more so than Mike Brown, and I know Mike Brown, the Knicks got rid of Thibodeau, and Mike Brown is under the microscope to at least have the Knicks get back to the Eastern Conference Final. Anything short of that, why did you fire the coach? But I think a lot of this is on the players, man. I mean, how many more, close range shots are you going to miss, even with the lead? Even when they had an 8-10 point lead and chance to really solidify that win last night, they missed some easy shots. And give Atlanta credit. It's not all the Knicks falling apart. You have to give the Hawks credit for hanging in there. They did it. Yeah, they did it a little bit in game 1. They kept coming back in game 1, and you just saw it happening. And I saw it in the third quarter when you started to get a feeling that the Hawks were not going to go away quietly, especially after the fourth quarter started. And you saw them chip away at this. It is incomprehensible that they lost that game last night. And all they had to do was hang on and make one. If they made one shot, in the last couple of minutes, they win the game. All these things had to go wrong for them to lose the game, and they let everything happen. They let the Hawks back into it, and then they fell apart defensively. How many times, even when the Knicks had an 8 or a 10-point lead last night in the fourth quarter, and the third quarter too, and they were playing great defense, but then they let the Hawks go right down the paint and score. Look how many easy baskets the Hawks had last night. That's not the way you play defense in the NBA playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, I picked Knicks in 6, and after watching that game last night, I have my reservations about this team. Again, I can't blame it all on Mike Brown. I just can't. I know he's an easy target for people to ridicule and kill right now after what we saw last night, but a lot of this is on the players. I mean, you got to make some shots. You're at home court. You've got, a 6 and 8, a 10-point lead. Make some shots, man. And it starts with Brunson. And I love the guy. And he's great. He's a captain. He's worth every penny that the Knicks have paid him. And obviously he left some money on the table to re-sign. But this is the playoffs, man. You got to make some shots especially when you have the lead. Put the game away. And remember, in game 1, he had 19 points in the first quarter. And I think he only finished with 25 or 26. So he somewhat disappeared the rest of the game. But last night, he's got to hit some shots there in the fourth quarter. But it's not just him, but he's the leader, and that's who I'm pointing at. But these guys got to make shots. They missed free throws too. OG missed the free throw there. It all adds up. When you're up 10 and you miss a free throw, you can, you're still up 10. It doesn't matter because look what happened. The Hawks came back. Knicks would love to have at least one of their free throws back from last night. They'd still be playing. They'd be in overtime. So, you want to stay positive. It's so demoralizing, especially because it was on your home court. It happens on the road. I get it. Home team chips away a little bit, and the crowd gets into it, and the home team comes back and wins. But the Knicks last night got a taste of their own medicine. Remember what they did to the Celtics twice in the first round, in the second round last year, where they had 20-point leads, deficits twice, and came back and stunned that crowd in Boston? Well, the Knicks got a taste of that medicine last night. 14-point lead, 12 going into the fourth quarter. Got to close it out, man. You want to be considered a contender to go to the NBA Finals? You got to close out a 14-point lead at home. Against the team that, look, I'm sure Atlanta fans are riding high right now. Let's be honest. The Knicks are a much better team than the Hawks. But they blew it. It's on them last night, man. It starts. I know Mike Brown, and deservedly so. Why did they call that timeout with 2.5 minutes to go? I get it. But, man, your players got to make some shots. And that was a collective effort in the fourth quarter to let that game slip away, because you had guys that have been so important to that team that missed shots in that fourth quarter last night. Make 2 shots. All those misses in the fourth quarter, make 2 of them. And we're not talking about this right now. Make a couple of shots when you're up by 8 or 10 points. And the Hawks aren't even in it anymore. But that was bad. That was as bad as any. I mean, the Knicks have had some bad home playoff losses, but that just came out of nowhere last night. Like that, you're watching that game, and every time the Knicks built the lead, you thought, all right, they got it now. But give the Hawks credit. They didn't give up. And I don't know what's going to happen in games 3 and 4. I'd like to think at the very, very least the Knicks will split, and they'll come back to the Garden for game 5 next week, tied. But I think if the Knicks want to erase what happened last night, make their fans feel better about a lot of things, Go to Atlanta and take both games, and then come home and close it out in Game 5, and we'll all forget about what happened in Game 2. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I really don't. We'll see. Could they? Yeah, I think so. Will they? I think they'll split the 2 games in Atlanta and come back 2-2. And then, of course, you still have home court advantage. So you have games 5 and 7 at home. But you can't let that happen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Robbie SABO from Jets X Factor is going to join us when we come back right after this. Sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention SportsBash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. I'm Peter Schwartz. It's a big week for the Jets, the Giants, every NFL team with the draft, round 1 coming up on Thursday night in Pittsburgh. And we talked a little bit about the Giants draft last week on the show. Time to talk about Gang Green. And joining us to talk about what the Jets may or may not do on Thursday night, from Jets X Factor, a good friend of the program. He's been on a few times. We welcome back to the show Robbie SABO. Robbie, it's Peter. How are you, sir?
Hey, Peter, you got me?
We got you. How you doing?
All right. Good. How's everything?
Everything is great. Darren Muji, the Jets GM, spoke today at the Jets pre-draft press conference. And from what you heard out of his mouth, what do you think the Jets game plan is going to be Thursday?
Well, obviously edge, but everyone's been hearing that forever. And, it started out Reese, and then all of a sudden everybody was on Bailey. Everybody was on Bailey, and I just didn't buy it because it seemed all too perfect. And it seemed like a rerun of last year with Tyler Warren. And, the word that was thrown around is infatuated with Tyler Warren. Around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier, late March. McShay was one of the first to reverse course again and say he thinks it's going to be Reese again. I think it's going to be Reese. I've thought it's going to be Reese the entire time. He's the more complete football player. And if Aaron Glenn has his say, I think it's going to be Reese.
Well, it would make sense that if they're going to pick one or the other, one might be a project, one might not have developed his full potential yet. But I think, to your point, Aaron Glenn needs to win some football games next year. So I think they're going to take the player that's going to help them right away. And I think that I would agree too that's Reese, and that's the direction I think the Jets will go Thursday, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a misnomer in the media and the NFL draft. The coverage has just gotten so celebratory. Like everything is great, everyone's awesome, and it's a celebration. And I get it. From an NFL standpoint, you want that. You want that celebration type field. City to city. This time it's in Pittsburgh. And listen, Bailey's not a bad prospect by any means. I just think when everyone's talking about being a project with Reese and Bailey can help Glenn more quickly day one, I think it's a total fallacy. When people say that, all they're looking at is pass rushing. And that's not even guaranteed to be the case. I mean, Bailey played in the Big 12. If you look at the edge rushers who came out of the Big 12 in recent years, Tyree Wilson, Will McDonald, Felix Uzama, the kid from KC, they haven't really panned out since the Big 12 turned into the new Big 12, where they lost all the best teams. So that's what I think. The pass rushing is too much of a one-track mindset, and there's so much more to playing edge than just pass rushing. So, I like to tell people it's edge defender, not edge rusher. And in that regard, Reese has it. He's the better run defender by far. I think he's the strongest, has the heaviest hands in the draft, could set an edge, could play in space, track a guy down 1v1, and then can pass rush on top of it. And he's untapped. He's definitely raw in the pass rushing regard, but everywhere else, he's just the more complete player.
Yeah, I think whoever the Jets take it to, they're going to get a really good football player that's going to help the team. I'm sure at this point the Jets have to know who they're taking, but I'm just wondering, is there anything that another team could offer them that would even make them remotely think about trading the number 2 pick?
That's a good question. I believe I wouldn't take it off the table if I were Muji, and I like Reese that much. I think this is one of those classes that it's just not great. The top 10 isn't great. The first round isn't great. We've heard it a million times, and they're right. They're right in this regard. The first round grades aren't, in the 20s. It's more so in the teens, maybe low teens. And top 10 is even more so. Bailey, not a bad prospect, but I think he
Right.
belongs more mid first, like where Will McDonald went a few years ago. So I think from that regard, Reese is the outlier. And I think Reese is a fine number 2 pick, but I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule out a trade down. The problem is I don't think anyone wants to come up.
Yeah.
I don't think teams are going to be looking to trade down, but it's going to be really tough to pull off.
If there was a move that the Jets could make in the first round, it's with the 16th pick overall that they have. And obviously, by that point, we'll kind of know how things shake out with the wide receivers that are out there. You have Arizona State's Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon from USC. Is that a spot where the Jets definitely go wide receiver, or do they move out of that pick? Does it just really depend how the chips fall in the rest of the first round?
It's going to be interesting with Tate, Lemon, Tyson. If in terms of prototype body, explosiveness, the way guys move, fluidity, I think Tyson is the best of the bunch. But I wouldn't have him as my receiver 1. I think that's Tate, because the injury history, injury questions with Tyson, there's so many that you just can't feel good with it. Receiver, this is the tricky thing for the Jets and the Jets fan, Peter, as you know this. The history of second round receivers with this team: Stephen Hill, Devin Smith, Elijah Moore, it's Denzel Mims. It's PTSD worthy.
I know.
Yet they have 33 and 44, which is a prime spots to take a receiver. In my world, I don't know if Tate, Lemon, and Tyson are that much better than the rest of the crop to justify trading up. And taking one at 16, sure, but trading up and really being aggressive, I don't know. And if if someone else falls to them unexpectedly, like Caleb Downs or Ione, which I don't think is going to happen, but say it were to happen, you'd have to rely on 33 and 44 for that receiver, and that's going to scare the hell out of Jets fans.
Yeah, if they don't go receiver there at 16, if they decide to table it until the second round, obviously the Jets may look secondary. They didn't get a single interception last season, which is still, Robbie, it's mind-boggling to me how the Jets went a whole season without getting one interception. So if they don't go the wide receiver route, I'm wondering if they look at the secondary with that 16th pick.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. It's such a unknown right now. And then you also have the wild card of Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
He's gonna be discussed, and there are a lot of experts who think he's gonna go in the first round. Others who think he's gonna fall out. My best bet is still someone's gonna trade back into the late first to grab him, kind of like a Jackson Dart type thing. But yeah, 16. If I were Muji and the Jets, I would treat it as the most flexible slot of the draft, and it might just have to be best player available at that point.
When I look at Ty Simpson, and not to compare him to other quarterbacks, but you look at him, the scary part is he doesn't have a whole lot of starts in college. And I know he comes from a really good school in Alabama, and he's shown some ability, and I know he's wowed a bunch of people. But that would be the one thing for me that would scare me off, especially at 16, or even if the Jets got another first-round pick later in the first round. Just the uncertainty of how many games he's played in college would really scare me off.
It's interesting because you're right, and that should be a scary proposition. We remember Bill Parcells. He believed in a certain amount of starts. I forget what the number was, 30 or 28 or 25 or something like that. And it's a big deal. Experience for quarterbacks is a big deal. You have to be a semi-coach in this game at that position. But the juxtaposition is this. He actually ran more. What you see on tape from Simpson is more pro style, more reading of the field as opposed to Mendoza. Whereas Mendoza with Indiana and Cignetti, it was RPO. Everything was pre-snap. He knew where he was going. It was in and out. It was 3-step, and he was rarely under center. So on one hand, Mendoza has the experience, but not the pro-style offense experience. Mendoza has the pro-style offense experience, but not the overall experience. So but I agree with you overall. I don't think the quarterback class, like pretty much everything else, isn't the best this year, and that's putting it lightly. And I would try to avoid quarterback at 16.
Yeah, no question. Robbie Sabo from Jets X Factor is our guest here on Sports Bash as we talk about what the Jets may or may not do on Thursday in the NFL draft. So if they don't go the Ty Simpson route, and I've talked about this on the show before, I always felt like the Jets didn't necessarily have to take a quarterback in this year's draft. They signed Geno Smith as a stopgap to try and win some games this year, but the Jets now have 3 first-round picks next year, which a lot of people are saying it's going to be a better quarterback draft next year. I just wonder if the Jets might take a flyer on another quarterback later in this draft, but still hold out hope that they're going to get their franchise quarterback next year.
I think that's more so the plan. Question is, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Nussmeier? It depends. It all depends on value and where these guys go on day 2. What do you
think of the Penn State quarterback, Aller?
Aller, he's interesting. He's got the tools. Again, the Jets fan nightmare with Hackenberg will pop up. Obviously,
well, Robbie, you're drumming up all the hits right now, aren't you?
Hey, when you're given the material, it's tough to ignore, So that'll pop up. But hey, Aller, Beck, Nussmeier. Personally, I like Nussmeier. He's got the small hands, which isn't great. Arm strength is okay, but when you're drafting quarterback and you're taking a shot on quarterback day 2 or day 3, I would love to do it with the guy with the brain, with the mind. And, coach's son, he's got that. But I wouldn't be opposed to Aller later, or the lefty, who's the kid, Cole. Blanket on the name right now, but they met with him, and there's reports that they're interested in him as well.
obviously the most attention is going to go to the first, second round picks, even the third. So the first two nights, the top 3 rounds are going to get most of the attention. But when you try to build a team that can win the Super Bowl, you have to have a complete draft. You have to get those diamonds in the rough the rest of the way. When the Jets look at the rest of the draft, what areas, I mean, look, the Jets need a lot of help, but what do you think of the specific areas that the Jets will look to fill as this draft moves on to the third day?
Well, at 2, we know it's edge based on the way the board is falling. And, people might look at that position and say they don't have a need because they signed Asai and Igbare, they have McDonald, but there's a need there. You go 8 deep at D line, and they're going to run a lot of 3-4, so it's 3-4 outside linebacker. But more importantly, they need impactful defenders who could be versatile and do it all. So I think that fills a need in terms of potential and being that stud on defense. If Reese could grow into that, and they could help him grow into that. Elsewhere on the depth chart, O-line looks pretty good. Running back looks solid. Maybe they draft a running back later in the draft. Receiver's the big one, we know. Corner is a sneaky need. Yep. It's tough to trust A.Z. Thomas and Brownlee, who were hurt often last year. Brandon Stevens wasn't a world beater. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't a world beater. Demario Davis is going to be the captain. It's interesting. They need talent, but they're not crazy weak in any one grouping, if that makes sense. It kind of doesn't make sense, but they just need impactful, smart football players with instincts. And I think if they think in that regard, they'll do okay.
I'm amazed that Demario Davis is back with the Jets, because here's a guy who they drafted, let him leave. They brought him back, and they let him leave again, and now he's back a third time. It's almost as if he really never left. Even at his age, I think he's going to be a huge addition to the Jets defense.
They need to preserve him, in terms of science, and study him once it's all over in his career, because, being 37 years old and playing that position, how violent it is. And the NFL has gotten less violent over the years, but still, you got to fill and spill and oh my goodness. It's amazing how he's done it. And in terms of the Jets, it's, they drafted him, what was it, 2012, I think. Mm-hmm. Left for a year, went to Cleveland, came back. They have a quarterback, not 1, 2, because Minka on the back end is going to be the QB of the DBs. Everyone cites Salah in terms of the defense falling off. And while it's true, the defense fell off without Salah, I think it's more due to CJ Mosley. Once Mosley left the lineup, they didn't have that quarterback on defense. And getting it back with DeMario in the front 7 and Minka on the back end is going to be a huge deal for them.
We kind of touched on this a little earlier when I brought up that Aaron Glenn really needs to win some football games next year to keep his job. In fact, a lot of people thought he should have been fired at the end of this first year. What do you think the number is where Woody Johnson and Darren Muji will say, okay, you know what, that first year was really bad, but we showed a lot of progress this year. What's that magic number that you think Aaron Glenn has to get to come back for a year 3?
It's a great question, and I won't try to cop out, but I don't know if there is a number. I think it's more so the start of the season. And, you just cannot start so badly. Like 2-4, 2-5, 3-6. He has to show improvement in terms of coaching in today's league, meaning, I saw Cimini, ESPN, the great Rich Cimini had a great story with Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson talking about how, what he did in the early 90s, late 80s with the Cowboys, Jets could do now with their stockpile of picks. And it's half true in my mind. They can do that. They can grab a great nucleus, but at the same time, Glenn has to understand it's about outsmarting the opponent in today's game. Jimmy Johnson took his college recruiting type mindset to the NFL in the pre-salary cap era. Those Cowboys teams, Peter, you remember. I know you're a young fella, but you remember. They had the Niners, they had the most talent in the league, and it wasn't even close. These days, the talent is so evenly spread across. You have to outsmart your opponents first. And if Glenn, we'll know right away. If Glenn looks at it that way and starts to operate in that regard, and the light bulb turns on, then I think you're going to feel a lot better about him.
And I wonder if we'll also get the impression, if he gets off to a bad start and there's a change, if it really is true what some people have reported, that this is really Darren Muji's team right now. They both came in basically at the same time, but I don't think they're necessarily attached at the hip. I think if they make a coaching change, I don't think that necessarily means that Muji is in trouble, right?
It's interesting. There are some who believe they're tied at the hip. There are some who believe that they're not, and things have shifted. I hope for the Jets' sake and Woody's sake and Glenn's sake and Muji's sake that it hasn't shifted too much, meaning there hasn't been a changing of the guard and things being forced onto anybody, if that makes sense. Glenn, Muji, they're a team. They came in as a team. They both report to the owner. Even if Glenn had final say initially and Muji now has final say, there has to be that one person who has final say. If that shifted, fine, but they came in as a team and they're going to leave as a team, potentially. We'll see what happens. Based on this draft, if Muji truly is the lead horse and he collects talent and they still don't win, then I could see them moving on from the head coach.
Robbie, my friend, thank you so much as always for spending some time with us on the show. Enjoy Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and we'll see what the Jets wind up with after those 3 days and see how things go as the offseason heads towards training camp in July and August.
You got it, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks. Robbie SABO from Jets X Factor joining us here on Sports Bash. When we come back, we're going to have the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. What's hot at ticketbash.com, the coach's collectibles item of the week. And we have to tell you a little something about the show when we come back right after this. Sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash. I'm Peter Schwartz. Again, thanks so much to Robbie SABO from Jets X Factor for joining us on the program. Always great to talk to him about the Jets. And you want to check out Jets X Factor because they do a lot of great stuff on that website. It's a lot different than following the Jet beat writers because they do a lot of in-depth X's and O's, and they use a lot of analytics in the things that they do at Jets X Factor. It's really fascinating work that Robbie and his staff, they do. And that's why we always love having him on, because not only can he talk about, what the Jets are going to do specifically with free agency and the draft, but he could really, when the season gets underway and we talk to him again, somewhere down the road, we like to talk to him about the analytics part. I hate analytics. Me talking about how the analytics has taken over baseball front offices. I can't stand it. But I think in football it works a little bit better because you can dive into a number of things, and they do a great job with that at Jets X Factor. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. We post a new poll question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. So we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show about the Knicks game last night. Who do you blame the most for that Knicks Game 2 loss last night? Do you put it on Mike Brown, or do you put it on the players? You heard me say it's on the players. I know Brown's going to take a lot of heat, but you got to put that on the players last night. I mean, what is Mike Brown supposed to do when his players aren't hitting shots? So I think that was all on the players last night. Time now for the What's Hot at ticketbash.com. And Knicks and Hawks, we know it's going to be a Game 5. It's going to be at the Garden on Tuesday, April 28th. Game 7 of this series, if necessary, will be at the Garden on Saturday, May 2nd. Mets are home to the Twins this week, and they'll host the Rockies over the weekend. Some concerts, some really good ones, are coming up locally. UBS Arena's got Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band May 5th. Weird Al Yankovic. Is it Weird Al Yankovic or Yankovic? I've always heard it growing up. I always heard it both ways. I love his music. Eat It, remember that? Eat It and all those great parody songs. Weird Al Yankovic, July 11th. Lionel Richie, Earth, Wind & Fire, July 14th, all at UBS Arena. At the Garden, Demi Lovato, April 24th. Bruce Springsteen, May 11th and 16th. And Bruce will be at Barclays Center May 14th, also in Brooklyn at Barclays Center. Megan Maroney on July 9th. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at ticketbash.com. It's time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. And always Dom comes up with some great stuff. Take a look at this. Mike Piazza autographed helmets. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at www.coachescollectiblesny.com and use code SportsBash for free shipping on all your orders. I mentioned at the top we had to make a little announcement about the show here at the end. And, we started this project July of 2023. We started at LI News Radio. And we had some great, support over there for our weekly radio show. We would record the show during the week, and it would be played back on Saturday. And then we added a great component to our show, and that was Chris Gannon, because he would come by when we would record the show during the week. He would videotape it, and we would actually put the video version of the show on Friday before it aired on LI News Radio on Saturday. And we kind of outgrew what was going on there at LI News Radio, and we decided, well, first of all, we went 5 days a week. So we actually had expanded the show to 5 days a week, live every morning. And it got to the point where we decided to take the show to Governor's Comedy Club and do it 2 days a week, 1 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we've been doing that for a couple of years now. And once again, to Tony Walker, we hope the very best for him, and we hope everything works out. And we've had a great time on this show. We've had great guests. We've had great phone callers, great contributions from everybody behind the scenes, and our great sponsors, Ticket Bash, Ryan Anthony, Heating and Air Conditioning, and Marty Lyons Foundation, Coaches Collectibles. For a while, Living Legends Memorabilia was a sponsor. We had a few others, just to name a few. But we had some great support over the years. Unfortunately, Sports Bash is coming to an end at the end of this month. So we will have a show again on Thursday, and next week, Tuesday and Thursday. And there's, I'm not going to get into the specific reasons. There's a number of reasons why, we're coming to an end of the show. But I don't want it to be a sad thing. I want it to be, thankful that it happened. And we did have a wonderful run in studio, remote shows that we did, shows that we taped and for air. And I just go to the people who follow along on social media and the guests and the callers and all the people behind the scenes. And we'll get more into it next Thursday when we say goodbye for good here on the show, as it's termed Sports Bash. So the one thing I do want to say is that after we go off the air with Sports Bash next Thursday, keep on the lookout, because I'll be starting a new podcast project shortly thereafter. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look when we launch the new podcast, but Sports Bash, as you see it right now, as it exists right now, will come to an end next Thursday. And again, we'll get more deep into thank yous and goodbyes and memories of the show next Thursday. But I did want to make the note today that we're going to end the show next Thursday. But again, that's the sad news. The good news is that I'm going to be starting another podcast project that I'm very, very excited about. Again, we're not all the way there yet with how it's going to look, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it. But that's somewhere coming down the road. I think we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus from podcasting and get back into it at some point. But again, thanks to everybody for their support on Sports Bash. It's meant a lot. It's been a great project that I've had joy to work with. Vinny Greco at Ticket Bash has been wonderful, and Ryan Anthony as well. Leanne Burgess came on a short time ago and really helped us from a social media aspect. And everybody, you've heard the cast of thousands that we've talked about. So I just wanted to make a mention of that. And we'll see where everything goes down the road. But we do have 3 more big shows, Thursday of this week and 2 more next week. So this Thursday on the show, we don't have a guest book just yet, but I'm sure we'll talk more about the NFL draft, which is coming up on Thursday night. Baseball, obviously in the swing of things. I'll give a little recap of what it was like to be at the Ducks game tonight with Trevor Bauer on the mound. So tune in on Thursday. We'll have a great guest, and we'll have some great sports talk here on Sports Bash for another week and a half. And that'll do it for today's edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service. Thanks to my guest, Robbie SABO from Jets X Factor. Thanks to Chris Gaddam, everyone here at Collaborate Studios. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Leanne Burgess. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, Coaches Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. Sports Bash is back on Thursday.